And joining us in studio, Zanele Loana, Deputy President of Black First, the Land First, and Tsepo Khadima. We took liberties and extended his stay. He's political analyst and Mosiri Tsiane, legal expert with the Mosiri attorneys on the phone line. Good evening again to you, and thanks so much for joining us. Is it right that with Dr. Christo Visi saying it's very complicated, considering the decentralized nature and the multiple bosses or indices where this company lies to uncover corruption? In your view, Zanello, you think they're just playing it down?
We know that, particularly in this country, when we are dealing with corruption that implicates white companies, they are almost treated with kid gloves because of the institutionalized nature of the corruption and the looting they continue to do. And there is a high tolerance range on the looting white people continue to do in this country because it is institutionalized. But the nature in which institutions such as the parliament are dealing with the Steinhoff saga are totally different, for example, in the conduct they have been conducting themselves in dealing with state-owned enterprises such as SAA, such as ESCOM, and PRASA, for example. We see that whenever they are building a case of corruption against prominent black leaders in society, that whole parliament turns into a kangaroo court to try and preempt results and to control public opinion on what corruption means in this country. And I think it's up to the public to look into this process and scrutinize it and to expose the dishonesty that public institutions show in dealing with white corruption in this country.
Yeah, you think that there wasn't as much vigor in cross-examining, witnesses, for lack of a better term, in this particular process, Tsepo, and if so, why?
I mean, first and foremost, we saw that there was a statement issued by Parliament that this is not an inquiry, but it is a meeting. And I just don't know what in law they actually relied upon to convert an inquiry into a meeting, because now inquiry would have been to really get more facts, and I think, are they better informed? I'm not so sure. And the reason I'm not so sure that they are better informed, because I listened to all the witnesses who were giving testimony, even though it's not an inquiry, and it reminded me of the story in the Bible when God comes in the cool of the evening and he's looking for Adam. Of course, he knew where Adam was. Adam, where are you? And then Adam said, no, God, let me tell you about that woman you gave me. And then when God asked Eve, what happened? Eve said, God, let me tell you about that snake. And of course, the snake didn't have a leg to stand on. So what did we see? We saw them exactly doing the same thing. They kept the ball rolling, all of them, whether we are talking about the parliamentarians, we're talking about the directors and former directors of Steinhoff, whether we are talking about the regulators, other market regulators, or everybody else was effectively passing the ball. They did exactly that which I think happened in the Garden of Eden. Should we allow this to happen? My answer is that no, we shouldn't. In fact, we should now be have more vigor to take several courses of action. What is one of the courses of action to be taken? It's of course intriguing for me and interesting to note that by and large, companies such as Steinhoff or Capitec or any one of those, if you look at their board composition, there is no diversity, and they are by and large of a particular racial grouping. If you look at the top 40 companies on the JSE that are listed, and you look at their board of directors, you'll find that there is an incestuous relationship by and large, but most of it goes by what they would call an alma mater. So you find that the Stellenbosch Mafia, as we call them, and I think it's correct to call them such, they would have a certain group of people who will be having cross-board seats. So they will be sitting on multiple boards, but actually they are belonging to the same family, same club. That relationship is incestuous. And you look at Constantia, so you've got the Boereworsketen, those companies that are, that Durbanville and otherwise, and Constantia is also another group. You look at the board composition, it's something that we need to start asking questions of, because the more you do not have board diversity, you are bound to end up with what we saw happen at Steinhoff, what we saw happen at Capitec, because these are now, is broerskap and broederbonderism, that they are therefore not going to ask each other of the difficult, uncomfortable questions. It is absurd that Christo Wiese, hunting partner, and whatever partner in many other areas, Christo Wiese today could be claiming that he didn't know. Of course he didn't know, because he was constrained from asking the hard, uncomfortable questions because of that conflict resultant from the intimate relationship that he has. Now, what must be done? Apart from effectively a criminal investigation has to ensue, the Hawks need to tell us exactly what they are doing. At the same time, the asset forfeiture unit, it's astonishing that they have not yet preserved the assets, and there is continued destruction of value. We don't know who's trading in the Steinhoff shares, who's selling what shares now, and that is something that they need to preserve. The JSE needed to have preserved the value by suspending the shares, but over and above that, the directors need to be an inquiry into their fitness as fit and proper persons to be on the board of a director of any company, resultant from their conduct on the board of Steinhoff. And that inquiry, it has to be initiated. And I think at this point in time, with the shareholders who, by and large, have abrogated their duty, maybe civil society needs to do that.
Yeah, and Zanele, very briefly as well, we do have another discussion in the sense that they haven't been listed, at least the directors, executives of Steinhoff, nor Capitec, while investigations or probes are underway, listed as delinquent directors and not necessarily having fulfilled their fiduciary duties. Why the sort of soft kid glove approach, in your view?
Again, it comes back to how South Africa still remains a white settler colonized society, right? Because what basically happens is that we have the most corrupt in society, which is white settler monopoly capital, with their black stooges masquerading as crusaders against corruption. That's why we see this kind of level-headed way, rather, if I may describe it, on how they deal with Steinhoff. I remember, in fact, so Umamutu Dumieni, when she had made an appearance to account on activities of the South African Airways as the chair of the board, one DAMP even called her a warlord. We have seen during the ESCOM inquiries and including other state-owned enterprises, how even members of parliament of the EFF would swear and shout in parliament. Today it was completely calm, because white corruption is acceptable in society. That is the agenda of white monopoly capital. So parliament, as we know it today, and public institutions that should be holding these companies to account, we know that they are captured themselves, so they are not going to do justice. That's why it's very important for the black majority to unite, open criminal cases against Steinhoff, submit evidence of corruption on companies, of Steinhoff and similar entities to the judicial inquiry into state capture, and to expose white corruption in this country. Because our people really think white people, Marcus Juste, Christo Wiese, who walks around with blood money made out of diamonds that were dug by our own black fathers in this country, are treated like angels in society.
All right, we thank you so much, Zanele, and for your view. And Tsepo, as always, we appreciate your time. Zanele Luane, Deputy President of Black First, the Land First movement. Tsepo Khadima, political analyst, joining us in studio, looking at developments in Parliament earlier on today with regards to the Steinhoff inquiry, or probe, if you like. And